Alright, good day, hi and welcome. Hope you can hear me well. I got my helmet on. It looks like a beautiful day, and it is. It's like probably over 15 degrees right now, Celsius, so that's kind of like Canadian weather. That's like scorched earth, but it is cool. It is a very cold day. My fingers are kind of cold. I didn't go very far today. Bike's on probation with the starting thing. It took me 2 tries to get it started. It wasn't hard, but I had to try it, and I'm getting that cold start thing down until I look at it. So I gotta probably about not quite half tank left, or not, well, probably not less than a half tank anyway. And that's a loud van. So what I'm doing is I'm going, I ride it around, I get out. This is my starting procedure. I start the bike, which is usually pretty hesitant. I let the bike warm up to about 64. So I just let it idle until it warms up. Then I stop the bike, I come out, and I get all my gear on, then I start it to see if it's going to start again. So if you can start it when it's cold, you can start it after you warm it up. Then what I do is I ride it around for XYZ, and then I stop someplace. In this case, I stop close to home, just to see if it has no problem restarting. Now, I'm going to have to let it cool down and do the restart thing, but just to see if it starts, no problem. Once the oil's warmed up, I think it's no problem, but it's what happens is when it's cold, like especially last night, it was in the subs, it was like I don't know, -2, -3, -4 last night, so it was pretty cold. And then the oil being thick and everything like that, you know, it's 20 W50 in there, so that's kind of what it calls for. So it calls 15 W50, but I only got access to 20 W50, so it's a little thicker, but protects the engine a bit more. But it makes it harder to start a little bit. But the thing is when it's really cold like that, and when it's sitting in the garage, when I pull it out, I let it sit in the sun for about half an hour or something like that, just to see if it'll warm it up a bit, you know. And you got to fight with the throttle to keep it running for the first little bit. But once you get it running and you can hold it there, it takes about 2 minutes or so before it'll run by itself. Then once it runs by itself, it's fine. And then the restart, again, no problem. Everything else is working good. It's just out on the cold start, so I just don't want it to leave me anywhere. So the best thing to do is just stay close to home when I stop it, start it, stop it, start it, and ride around. So hopefully Sunday I'll pull a tank off of it and have a look at those intake air control valve tubes. It's like 4 little hoses, corrugated hoses with little nubs on it that goes onto the not the throttle bodies, but there's like a cross tube for the cold start. And think of it like a digital choke, right? And those little boots, for whatever reason, crack. Maybe it's just the extreme temperatures. It gets really hot, and then it sits really cold, then hot, really cold, hot, cold, and they crack. That little rubber little boot, probably about a 10-cent piece, cracks. So I want to pull it off, and I'm thinking if I can get tape around it and seal it up. The reason why it's wonky when you start it is because it can't regulate itself, right? You got too much air, not enough air. The fuel air mixture, it can't regulate it properly, and that's why it's so hard. But once it's going, it runs like a charm. So if I can fix that little problem, I might get a season out of the bike yet. I'm pretty sure I will. It's just like anything. I just hope it's not an expensive problem to fix. I did some research. I think the tubes are like, if you can get them by them, the hoses by themselves, the intake air control valve hoses by themselves, I think they might be $10 a piece, which is kind of pricey when you think about it. But if I can make them for cheaper and just as good, then I'll do it. But I'd like to actually modify it so that it never does it again. That's the thing when you engineer a bike, right? An engineer will take everything into account, but there's always unforeseen things like that will crack and whatever, and it becomes a design flaw that you just got to live with, right? So I don't know how often that happens to other machines, but it seems like it is something fairly common in the Triumphs to check out if if your bike was running perfect, and all of a sudden you're starting to have all these starting problems. That could be one of them, because I don't think it's the plugs. The bike runs way too good for it to have bad plugs. And when I let off on the throttle, if I rev her up really good and I let off the throttle quick, pull in the clutch, let off on the throttle quick, I might get the odd pop once in a while. But if it were bad plugs, you'd hear it on every downshift. You'd popping and stuff like that, or you'd be driving along and you'd just be hearing backfiring while you're driving along. I know what a dead plug is like, or a weak plug is like. It doesn't burn off the fuel enough, but this doesn't seem like that. And power is not a problem on this bike, especially on a cool day like today. I swear you get an extra 5 horsepower. It's like, yeah. The hottest I could get the bike up to today was 71. Normal running temperature. Mind you, the bike with the coolant change and the oil change that I just did on it runs about 6 degrees cooler than what it normally does. So that's good. That's good. But on a cool day like today, like 71, even like going at low speed, I got up to I think 86. Usually, I'm in that 90s or whatever. You're just like creeping along in the traffic or whatever. So it even did it like that. So anyway, just something for you guys to look at if you're having a problem with your tt600 or other Triumphs. It seems like it was a Triumph thing in the 90s and early 2000s to have that little design flaw. So if you're having a hard time starting the bike, but the bike runs great once it's warmed up, but you just have a really hard time starting it, and it's a really pogo-y, wonky idle. Because I thought maybe it was my fuel mapping, but if it was my fuel mapping, it would probably do it everywhere. Like, it wouldn't just run crappy down low, it'd run crappy everywhere. But this, it idles perfect once it's warmed up. So there's something else. And the only 3 things that I could really attribute it to, the 3 prime suspects, is 1, bad fuel mapping, which it doesn't see. This thing seems to be fine. It's doing everything that it was supposed to do. If you look at the fuel mapping, where it's supposed to idle, like it's right on the number. So when it gets to the warm-up temperature, it idles where it's supposed to idle. When it gets just a little bit hotter than the warmer temperature, running temperature, it idles right where it's supposed to idle. So it's not that. But, and again, the plugs, I mean, before I spend $50 to $80 or $90 to replace the plugs, I got 3 prices. I got $11 per plug, and there's 4, right, plus tax. And then $12 per plug, 4 plus tax, and almost everywhere else is $18 a plug. It's NGK CR9EK for these, if you're wondering what they are. It's in the manual, but if you don't have a manual, at least you'll know what it is. But yeah, $18 a plug. You times that by 4, and then add the tax. You're almost at $90 because all the taxes are. So I don't want to spend $90 on something it doesn't need. Although it doesn't hurt, but. It's like if it's $50 to buy new tubes, or $40 to $50 to buy new tubes, or 30 cents to fix each one with duct tape. Hey, this guy, you'd be surprised what I could do with paper clips and shoestrings and keeping a vehicle running. It's just it's a knack I got. But anyway, I'm going to start up, see if I can get my butt home. Well, the good news is that if I can't get it started, I'm about probably exactly a kilometer from home, so it's like not that. But I want to stop and start the bike a few times. Also, I wanted to stop too because I was actually starting to get cool. On a day like today, I was like, it's nice now, but like, oh yeah, I almost contemplated turning on my grip warmers. I've used them once. They could be a little bit hotter, but I don't know how much draw it is on the battery, so I don't like to use them that much. It's kind of more what you'd see on a tour bike, but being a British bike, this thing was never in the UK, but being a British bike, maybe it just came standard with them, because I know the Brits get lovely gloomy weather, they get sunshine like twice a year or something like that. I mean, I get sun 6 months, at least I get sun 6 months out of the year, sort of, kind of, not really, but something like that. And black flies and snow. So everything's a trade-off. But yeah, the grip warmers, would I put them on a tour bike? Yeah, I would. But for sport bike, I don't know. I just kind of feel like I'm jipping myself or something. It just feels like it shouldn't be on there. I don't know, maybe because it's a sport bike. But anyway, I got to start her up, get her home. I'll keep you guys updated. When I pull the tank off, I'll show you what it looks like and everything like that, so you guys get a good idea of what's involved if you guys got to end up with the same problem. All right, have yourselves a great day, eh?